It's now 7 years later, and the list of well-publicized mass shootings continues to grow in rapid-fire succession, and the list of those that don't even make the news grows even faster. We, too, were exposed to it on the streets of our own city. Just in the last week, a Shaker student, 15 years old, was killed by gunfire. The third person killed by gunfire in just a few days, and the second teenage girl to be shot and killed. Destiny Green was sitting in a car and was the victim of gunfire intended not for her, but for someone else. The incidences grow and grow, and we offer prayer and thoughts as the alarm sounds. I was curious, since I wrote the statement of 2014, I was curious what it was like in other places. And so I looked to my homeland, north of the border. I was curious how many instances of mass shooting had taken place. The answer was 6. And before someone says to me, "But Rabbi, Canada is a much smaller population than the United States." That's true. It's about 1/10 the size. So let's take that number 6 and multiply it by 10, and we get 60. In 7 years. Since 2014, there were 6 incidences north of the border. We are up to 198 mass shootings in the United States since the beginning of the year. 198. That doesn't even account or include all those that I mentioned earlier that don't fit that criteria of mass. Of all homicides in the United States, 73% are gun-related, compared to 39% in Canada, 22% in Australia, and a mere 4% in England and Wales. The United States averages 120.5 firearms per 100 residents, more than double the next closest country, Yemen. In the year 2020, a record high, nearly 23 million firearms were purchased, and those are only the ones that we know about. As President Biden said last week, gun violence in this country is an epidemic and an international embarrassment. We can and must do better. We want to see our nation open up. We want to see our children back in school because we know that is the best place for them to be. But we have to know that there are schools of places, are places of safety and security. And the only way to do that is to hear the alarm that is echoing with every gunshot and do more than offer prayer and thought and hope that the Holy One will intercede. It is time to fulfill the mandate for which this country, upon which this country was based. in the Declaration of Independence, the founders of the nation wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men." It is time for our national leaders to fulfill that promise, to ensure that everyday citizens can go about their daily activities, live their lives, pursue their liberties, chase after happiness, and simply make it home safely. That is their job. That is their responsibility, and it is time for us to hold them accountable for their failure to do so. It is not enough to sound the alarm and to offer prayers and thoughts. The Torah teaches us that we are not to stand idly by the blood of our neighbors. And Ibn Ezra, in commenting on the verse, says that if we have the power and the potentiality to make a difference and we did not do so, then we are no less guilty. And so it is time for us, all of us, to demand of our national leaders that they act, that they do what the vast, overwhelming majority of this country wants, which is to implement intelligent gun legislation that will offer real protections to all of us, to every one of us. A Quinnipiac poll released this week showed that 89% of Americans support requiring background checks for all gun buyers, that 75% back red flag laws, and even 51% support an assault weapons ban outright. Congress continues to drag its feet, and we need to put their feet to the fire. Otherwise, we are guilty by association and by inaction. The clarion call has been sounded, and it is up to us to answer the bell. Amen. Chaverim, our service continues with Ein Keloheinu, page 182.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, mi Eloheinu, mi Chadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu, nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adonenu, nodel Malkeinu, nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shektiru Avoteinu, Lefanecha et Ketoret Hasamim.
We rise as able for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שכונות השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. על כן נקבל אדוני אלוהינו למחר בתפארת לזכר. כמלכות שלך, כי לא מעט ימלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Kaddish Yatom for mourners and those observing Yortzeit, page 184 in Sidur Sim Shalom, 207 in Lev Shalem. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, B'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chai echol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach la'alam lo me'almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shmei Kudsha, Brichu, La'ela, Min Kol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tush Bechata, V'nechamata, Da'amiran, V'yalma, V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba, Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, Huya Aseh Shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. Chaverim, you may be seated. A couple of quick items before we conclude. First, Yishar Koach to the Chazan for leading us in davening and chanting the Haftarah. Yishar Koach to Bob Gottheim for serving as our Gabbai today. Yishar Koach to Justin Morris for getting our first Aliyah to the Torah in many, many months. And Yishar Koach Achem to Sam and Kim Morris for doing Hagba and Galila. And I just want to note that our live stream this Shabbat was sponsored by the aforementioned Sam and Kim Morris, who do so in honor of the Temple Israel community for their encouragement of their son Justin, who is an upcoming pediatric resident at Albany Medical Center and a recent graduate of medical school, so Mazal Tov. Call your attention to the upcoming program on June 24th, Comedy and Deli Night, a humorous and inspirational multimedia history of the delicatessen across 4 generations of Jews in America, and it will be led by comedian Seth Front, creator of the Jewish Zodiac, a deli food parody of the Chinese Zodiac. And food will be available through TI Takeout. We'll conclude with Adon Olam, page 187 in Sidur Sim Shalom, 211 in Lev Shalem.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. לי לה 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 לי לה 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 לי לי לה 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 לי לי לה 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 לי לה 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 לי 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 והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום מקרא לה 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 לי 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 יאללה לה 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 לי יאללה לה 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 לי יאללה לה 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 לי לה 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 לי בידו אפקיד רוחי בתישן ואיירה ואם רוחי גוויתי אדוני לי ולא יירא לה 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 לי יאללה לה 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 לי יאללה לה 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 יאללה 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 לה לה לה.
Shabbat Shalom Vorach. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. What was the theme today? My theme.
Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't.
Have you heard of Tonya Shur, the composer?
No. Well, maybe.
That was him. Both the Don Olam and the Shepherday.
Check your notes.
That's two mountains.
If you have to check your notes, then I don't feel so bad. But you're not encountering that when you're in class because you don't read that much. That's true too.